Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and went through Sidon down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of Decapolis. There, some people brought to him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. After Jesus took him aside, away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven and with a deep sigh said to him, Ephphatha, which means, be opened. At this, the man's ears were opened, his tongue was loosened, and he began to speak plainly. Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone, but the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. The word of God.
Thanks be to God.
Well, happy Grandparents' Day. And happy Grandfriends' Day. I am cognizant that on this Grandparents' Day, we may have mixed emotions. Some of us may have no memories of our grandparents, or even difficult ones. Others may dream of being grandparents and frustrated that we may not be able to fulfill this role. Many of us have been blessed by our grandparents, as well as other older adults, and our hearts swell thinking of them. With all of this in our minds and our hearts, I do encourage us to expand our sense of family to be a circle of love. A circle of love. Of course, in this circle, we can include traditional relationships through blood, marriage, and legal adoption. Yet, we can expand our circles of love to include people whom we figuratively adopt, people whom we claim to be bonus relatives, like the older neighbor, the child who lives across the street, the mentee we help raise up, or the grandchild of a sister-in-law. The term grand friend helps to capture all of this. For those who don't know, my first career was as an intergenerational specialist. For decades, I focused on ways to help unite older adults and young people in meaningful ways. My work started here in Sudbury with the Bridges program, and then eventually the founding of Bridges Together. As an intergenerational specialist, I was a bit apprehensive about Grandparents' Day, I must confess. I was afraid it was just another Hallmark holiday. However, along the way, I learned that the campaign for Grandparents' Day was started by Marion Lucille Herndon McQuaid. She was mother to 15, grandmother to 43, great-grandmother to 15, and great-great-grandmother to 3, if you can imagine. Marion wanted to help grandparents and grandchildren focus on their relationship and spend time together. She worked tirelessly for this holiday and for the improvement of the lives of older adults. Eventually, this holiday was made official by President Jimmy Carter in the 1970s. Over time, the holiday has become expanded and the whole month of September has become known as Intergenerational Awareness Month, a title and a movement that more than 40 governors have signed proclamations for, including here in Massachusetts. There's so much research that shows the positive effect of intergenerational relationships on both generations. In short, intergenerational engagement, especially through strong programming, can help us live longer, healthier, and more vibrant lives, both for children and the older adults. Additionally, there are many studies that help us understand the importance of grandparents' roles in sharing faith with their grandchildren. It's interesting that when St. Paul writes to his mentee, Timothy, he recognizes Timothy's grandmother Lois and his mother Eunice. We also read about these circles of love with Naomi, Ruth, and Obed. Naomi claimed the baby as her own grandchild, even though technically it was not. It's a wonderful example of adopted or bonus grandparents. St. Gregory the Great credits his grandmother, Macrina the Elder, with nurturing his faith. And Rosa Parks attributes the example of her faith-filled grandparents as preparing her for the activism to which she was divinely called. Let's pause for a moment. If you are comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes or cast your gaze down low. Think back to when you were younger and an experience you had with an older person. Who was the person? Where were you? What were you doing? How did you feel? How do you think the other person felt? What did you take with you from the experience? When you are ready, send the person a message heart to heart, spirit to spirit, and then open your eyes. I invite you to hold that memory and experience as we shift our focus back to the first reading today from Isaiah. It's a prophecy we hear often. The eyes of the blind will be opened, the ears of the deaf will be cleared, the lame will leap, and the tongue will sing. Life will be transformed, and we will be open. Ephphatha. In reality, each of us helps to touch and transform the lives of others. We can think of these in literal, physical terms, but also in figurative terms. The eyes of the blind will be opened. If we are eye doctors or surgeons, we can help people see physically. However, each of us can help others see and learn in new ways. We can share different perspectives, point things out, teach life lessons. The ears of the deaf will be cleared. Again, doctors and audiologists can help make this happen physically. But figuratively, we can encourage our loved ones who have hearing loss to seek and wear hearing aids. That's literal too, right? There's so much research about the negative effects of hearing loss on isolation and physical ailments. When we are with someone who has hearing issues, we can help reduce background noise while we speak loudly and clearly and encourage others to do so as well. Figuratively, each of us can help the deaf hear. We can offer encouragement. We can speak our truth in love. We can help eradicate lies and fallacies. All of this helps overcome deafness. The lame will leap. I think of the people who help children learn to walk and run and leap, or the person who helps someone with crutches, a walker or wheelchair, or the people who teach dance, gymnastics, or track, like we saw this summer in the Olympics. We can also physically walk with people to new places and new experiences, even in a new school building. Figuratively, we can help someone get through a debilitating crisis or a deep depression so that they are able to leap through life again. And the mute will sing. Again, we help little ones learn to talk and others overcome speech impediments. We learn a different language or recover from a stroke. We can have music on while others are around us, and we can teach songs as we celebrate the goodness in life. God created us to be interdependent. We need one another. So I wonder, thinking back to your memory of an elder, did they help you see and learn? Did you hear things differently because of their voice? Did they walk with you and take you to new places? Did they help you speak in new ways, or learn to sing, or overcome difficulties? Thank God for the gift of this experience and this person. As we mature, we often have the gift of welcoming new babies and children. We may be curious as to whom they will become. We may recognize their gifts and temperaments as they start appearing, even during infancy. The child who is comfortable being alone, the one who is carrying around a baby doll, the one who is athletic, throwing the ball, the one who is a born leader or mathematician. We have no idea what God will do with each of us when we see these little gifts, and when we offer our lives to God, how we can be opened and transformed. And we heard this so beautifully in the song today, Mary, Did You Know? She knew a little bit, but I wonder if she really knew. We have the opportunity and even the divine responsibility to nurture those around us and ourselves. There are two human developments on which I based so much of my work, and I think they're helpful as we think about helping others be open and ourselves. The first is the understanding of the whole person, and we have a graphic for that. As people, each of us is evolving physically with our body, just as we may choose to start to exercise or do physical therapy or learn a new physical skill. Socially, in our relationships. Financially, there are skills that we need to learn in finances, but also if our own basic needs aren't met, if our children don't have food, they can't learn. We have to make sure that there's a strong foundation. Emotionally, with our feelings, and intellectually with our minds. And then, whether or not people will admit it, there's a spiritual sense to all of us, right? So we can look at each of the people in our lives and ourselves and realize what do we want to strengthen? What do we want to grow, right? Where are we stronger? The second theory that I like to use is Gardner's multiple intelligences or SMARTS theory. Well, traditionally, we said that anyone who excelled automatically was smart. In reality, cultures around the world value these 9 smarts. We can look at ourselves through these lenses as well as the people around us. We can nurture these different types of gifts and affirm them in us and others. So I'm going to give you an example as we move through this little circle. Many of us learn the states and capitals simply by rote, right? We made the list, Boston, Massachusetts. But now these multiple intelligences are integrated into the curriculums in our school. So people who are word smart are still learning them by lists and writing them out. Spiritually, if we're word smart, we might be a lector or a liturgist or a preacher. Logic smart is all about the math and science. With the states and capitals, it could be sorting them by population or by the by their size, by their population. If we are logically smart, we can help with computer programming, with AP, with administration, with scheduling and finances. Picture smart. So now with the states and capitals, it's drawing a state and putting the capital in the right place and being able to label the surrounding states. We might minister and picture smart by creating sacred art like the beautiful quilts in the hallway. Nature smart. So in the schools, they'll learn about the state's birds and trees for each state. If we are nature smart, we might create a garden with food that can be donated or flowers to beautify the surroundings. Body smart. So there's actually, they'll spray paint on the playground a map of the state, and people have to go jump, or they have carpets in the classrooms and kids have to go jump into the right state. If we are body smart, we might consider feeding the hungry or praying using our body, like taking a walk with Jesus, doing yoga in a way that connects us with God. Or when I was studying at an interfaith seminary, I spent a month using the Muslim Salah prayer that is done 5 times a day and uses our body to praise God. And I did it in a way that was Christian. It was very powerful for me. Actually, one of the most powerful prayer experiences I had in seminary. Music smart. There's actually a couple of songs about the state's capitals, which are really fun. If we're musical, we can join this amazing choir. Aren't they fantastic? Teach music to children. There's the threshold singers that make music at the bedside of people who are dying. If we're self-smart, students will write about states they've lived in, states they've traveled to or want to travel to. But in prayer, that's spending time and meditating alone with God. St. Ignatius taught an examination of conscience that invites us every day to reflect on how God has been with us that day and where we've followed God's way of love and where we've veered from it. And people smart, there's all kinds of games now for students to play together as they learn the states and capitals. So much of our community is about ministering together, right? Listening, praying, serving, just being here is a gift. Sharing resources. All of this helps us grow spiritually and helps others to be nurtured too. In doing so, we are carrying on Jesus' example of Ephphatha. We are being open and helping others be open. There's a quote from St. Francis, "Preach the gospel. Use words if necessary." There are so many ways that we can preach the gospel just by our very actions. So in nurturing all of our relationships, I offer a few tips, especially helpful with young people. Be present and ready, like the Minutemen. If they invite you to something, do everything you can to go. No electronics at the table for anyone, regardless of our ages. It helps to have a basket that people can put their phones in. Be positive, affirm, and encourage. Toughening up or criticizing at home so they don't hear it first someplace else doesn't work anymore. Offer choices. Would you like to go out today or next week? Could you help or clean up? Try to spend time just with the child without the parents. We parents like to meddle and get in the middle. And use technology like Ancestry to stay in touch. Consider sending a photo each day to someone you love, or a headline from the newspapers, or even FaceTiming and doing a little search of your house, a scavenger hunt of your house or the other person's. As we follow the encouragement of the prophet Isaiah, and we follow the example of Jesus, let us help each other be open and heal, body, mind, heart, and spirit. Let us also be like Jesus, expanding our circles of love to include people of all ages and walks of life. Let us be like Mary and Joseph, as well as Mary's parents, Anne and Joachim, wondering with curiosity about the new life around us and how God will work through that new life. And let us proclaim, "Blessed be our beloved God, source of all life and hope."